Okay, Parashat Chayei Sarah. Parashat Chayei Sarah, quite interesting, and it's called Chayei Sarah, but it really talks very little about the life of Sarah, and really the parasha starts with the fact that Sarah already left the physical world; she's already dead. So why do they call it Chayei Sarah? I mean, what we call the parasha, the life of Sarah, when she's basically talking about her death. And of course, we already know that every letter, every story in the Torah really gives us has so many depths to it that you can like roam in, and tremendous awareness. It's called muda'ut, awareness about things. And of course, I mean the way we say it has to do with it as well. I mean, the first pasuk, there is a secret that says over there that has to do with mentioning the age of Sarah, how Sarah, referred to in terms of her age, and it says Ve'yu Chayei Sarah 100 shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheva shanim. Her life she was 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. It just says she was 127 years. I mean, why do you, right? What we call it again, Chayei Sarah. Why don't we call it the same thing as they did in Parashat Acharei Mot, after the death of Bnei Aaron? So call it Parashat after the Mot of Sarah. So again, there's a lot of secrets in it, and that's what we use the Kabbalah for that, for all the Mekubalim that are not here today. So, So the Mekubalim explained to us that the process of getting old at the time, the way they got old at the time, was a little different than what it was today. They aged in a different manner. I mean, in a completely different manner than us. For example, I mean, not everybody gets to look handsome when they're young, or to look pretty when they're young. Not everybody. But even more people, or should I say even less people, get to age beautifully. They look beautiful at their old age. So, and we know that Sarah was beautiful at every age. That's why the first secret is that Sarah was really 100 years old. But she was as pretty as a 20-year-old and as pure as a 7-year-old. The Kabbalah explained to us, and this is very fascinating, that until the age of 6 years old, there is no obligation of the child to harness the powers of or his need to receive, in order to increase this resistance, to develop this resistance inside of him to receive all the time. However, from the age of 7 and up, your enemy, your arch enemy, which is the willingness to receive all the time, call it the development of the id, or ever changing id and whatever it is over there, id and yid, yeah. And at the age of 7, each and every one of us start to develop abilities to actually control what they want. And of course, that's why that control has to do with harnessing your and controlling the need to receive all the time, to get the immediate gratification. It is an essential ingredient in developing spiritual strength, and mental, and mental, should I say. But it's very important to understand those things. That's why if you provide with your kid everything, as soon as it starts crying, you're going to be growing a monster. A person that cannot control his bursts of passion to buy things immediately now will develop also into a very crooked person. So look at her today. You want something today that will guarantee you to come to your door. I'm not quite sure it's so good. That's why it says the mitzvah chinuch, the mitzvah of education. And when we say the chinuch of a child, in terms of education, we're talking about Torah and mitzvot. They're not talking about teaching him math or algebra or sending him to the best, Ivy League school. Ivy, by the way, is not so good. It's an invasive species, and sometimes it's even poison. So stay away from Ivy League and poison ivy and poison all these things. Yeah. So we're talking about chinuch lemitzvot. We start at the age of 6 to prepare him on with his life, because now he's in the right place, and the Torah mitzvot will do this for you. That's why it's very difficult later on to take a 60-year-old and teach him self-control. Self-control has to be practiced immediately. It has to be practiced immediately. So that's why the emphasis comes that regardless of the grip that the selfish need or will has on us, Sarah, at the age of 7, was completely pure, and she continued with this all her life. In other words, Sarah did not have an id. It was completely superego. She was balanced. And by the way, that's purity. Because when I want something and I want it now and I only want to receive it, I don't, of course, want to give, you're becoming impure because you don't care about anybody else. You'll stumble and you step on everybody that comes your way, or everything that's going to come your way. There's nothing sacred to you. She did not have that. Now, the stages of building start really when a person is born. When you're talking about building a person in a correlation to what will be later maybe building the world. So when a baby, the process of building starts when a person is born, and when he's born is all egocentric. It's all about himself because he needs that to survive. If the kid will say, oh, my mommy is sleeping, I can't wake her up, he'll die. So that's why he needs to eat, he cries, and so on and so forth. But, of course, being a baby, he wants little things, he wants baby things. The problem comes when he becomes older, he wants bigger things. And then go stop him then. Go stop him then. And all those vessels, that's why his ego grows bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Ego, I'm talking about egocentric, right? Not ego, id, and superego, right? Becomes, he's becoming very self-centered and selfish in the way. And all his vessels are there to receive pleasure. It's all about pleasure. And we are pleasure seekers all the time. And it's terrible for us until to the point that we're killing ourselves. Physically and spiritually. So, and everything grows and the vessels become big and he starts understanding, and together with that we give him the tools to deal with that until he becomes 13 years old. And 13 years old, so in one hand, if he already married it and he already has Torah and mitzvot and so on and so forth, so he can break his selfishness and to fix his world. Now, if he didn't, he actually starts to destroy the world. Because now his self-centerism is taking over his existence, and again, he's going to be a bully. And you have to understand that the order, we're talking about the order of building the person, so the order of building the man or person is in stages. You have to go through a process. There's a process you have to go through. You don't just get up like this and 13 years old, boom, he's gonna, or some idiot parents think, oh, don't worry, he'll figure out, life will teach him a lesson. Life is not a school, we'll not teach you a lesson. And when life teaches you a lesson, it's too late. So it's a process. You can't be perfect in one day. And so is with anything, which the soul and so on and so forth. It's through a process until you reach the point that you are on a path already. The Rambam calls it the Shvila Imtzai, the middle path. In other words, when you start diverting, goodness, my back. When you start diverting to the left, right, you will have to use whatever you can in your power to go to the other extreme, and only then you could, by defining this extreme, you can only find your center point and center of gravity. In other words, if you were very cheap, you have to use tremendous amount of spending in order to be able to be normal. And by the way, sometimes it happens to people who the parents did not have a lot. Parents that did not have money, or parents that didn't want to give their kids money, as soon as the kid gets money, he spends it all. And then he learns the hard way. And then he learns to live on a budget. And you have to think about it. Everything is an action and a reaction. Action and reaction. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us that we need, or the Torah told us that we need to be medabek to the midot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ma'u rachum, he's merciful, you are merciful, and so on and so forth. However, as much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashpia, he gives and does not receive because he doesn't need anything. Receiving always indicates something that is lacking with you. For example, if you are full, you're not hungry. I'm going to give you now, let's say, argument's sake, a big steak. Listen, I'm fine, it's okay. However, if you're hungry, and I'm going to give you a big steak, you're going to eat it above and beyond what you really need. So when you have this uncontrolled urge for possessions, to have, to receive, give me, it indicates that something is missing inside of you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu only gives, he never receives anything from us. And so is a person should strive to be mashpia. A person should strive to give for himself all the time. But if the person would only give, would not receiving, so what did he come to this world? I mean, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world for us to enjoy it. So at a certain point, I need to create a balanced point where I am giving but receiving as well. Giving to people but receiving from God. Then I'm creating my balance point. And it is like the story that they say about a person that comes to somebody's house, and the owner says to him, sit down and eat, and he doesn't want to, until he understands that the owners get really upset that he's not eating. So okay, fine, I eat something, and then everything is okay, everything is fine, and so on and so forth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, enjoy the world, but for me to give, don't look for people. And we say it in Hallel, right? Lo lidei matnat basar vadam, not to the handouts of men, but lo lidei alvatam, and not for the. We don't need human favors. Ela miyatcha melea rechava. Whatever I want to get, I'm going to get from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To give, I'll give to everybody, but to get, I only want from God. And in the introduction to Sefer HaZohar, it says that you are able to reach this level of perfect level of lekabel al menat leashpia, to receive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in order to influence and to do good in the world, only after Tchiyat HaMeitim. And the reason is it's fascinating, is interesting, because when a person dies, in his grave, together with the body, there is a part of this neshama that of the soul, the human soul. It's called the nefesh, and the nefesh is the part that makes us, created this lekin in order for us to survive, which is to eat, to multiply, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. And that stays with you in the grave. And that could not be cancelled. A person, as we said, needs this in order to survive. If I said, okay, I'm not going to eat, so you're going to die. If you're not going to have kids, the world will die. I mean, the will end. That's why you understand, if a person does not have kids, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want him to have kids. It doesn't mean you have to now go and get all the kids in the world and, adopt them and make them your own. And again, and I'm telling you, in Judaism, there's no concept of adoption. Adoption does not exist in Judaism. Foster house, maybe. Adoption does not exist into what we think, in terms of adoption and so on and so forth. So, after we bury a person, that remnant is being mitbatel, and because when you're dead, you don't want anything anymore, because you're dead. And in Tchiyat HaMetim, after all the other parts of the body have been dissolved, which the body represents with the willingness to receive, because the chisaron is from the body. Only then you're going to get all the parts of your neshama back, all the way up to yechida, because we know we have nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida. So only after Tchiyat HaMetim there's going to be the tikkun, the fix-up, the complete circle of achieving all the spiritual levels that you could get, and which will be your ability to be mashpia on this world. And this is something that we need for the whole entire world. It's nothing personal to you. It's been done for the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to resurrect all the dead, who merited for that, with the same blemish that they had in terms of the body, but not in the spiritual. That's if a person is going to have a ear, so he's not going to have a ear. He's blind, he's going to be blind. Because that's the body. At that point, the body is not really important. Right? And of course, you're going to be resurrected with the body, with your body. The body that wanted all the nonsense of the world. The body that wanted to do all kind of things that we should not talk about it when the camera is rolling, and go on uncontrolled vacations, and to do all these crazy things, and to eat all this nonsense and pleasures of the body, and so on and so forth. And you're going to use the same exact body, but you're going to do it different, because you're going to be able to use all parts of your neshama in order to give, and so on and so forth. And that's called the development of that. You need to strive while you're alive to reach as high as you can spiritually. And that's something that we're not being taught. We don't teach this to our kids. We don't emphasize the spiritual growth and importance of spiritual growth to our kids. We told our kids the most important thing is to be rich and to make a lot of money, and to have a big job and to be powerful. But why you want to be powerful? For what? For yourself? So you're a selfish brat. You're the same imbecile that you were 3 years old, and now you're 30 years old. You want to be powerful so you can help our people. But nobody says, oh, I want to be millionaire because I want to give. Nobody says that. And you should know that it goes hand in hand, by the way. I mean, there are some unique individuals, but most people, they become rich, and they become richer, and they become stinking rich. And the stench is being felt a long time, because then they forgot why they became rich. And then what you got to do? What are you going to do when you got to tell, when I come upstairs to God, you're going to say, listen, I gave you all this thing, what'd you do with this? Got yourself a hotel in, I don't know what, in Puerto Rico, did a wedding for your son for $3 million. Or your daughter. You know how many people you could feed with $3 million? Feed.
The whole United States.
Don't exaggerate. United States, not the whole United States, but you can help a lot of families. 3 million, not 3 billion, no trillion. 3 million. You can help a lot of families. You know how much Torah can you spend, for that? If an average coil guy gets $1,000 a month, right? So how much is a year? $12,000? How much is a million divided by 12? Come on, brainstorms. Oh goodness, you guys asked for refund from school.
83,333.
What 83,000?
A million divided by 12. 83,333.
No, it's no divided by 12,000.
No, by
So
12,000.
So that'd be
12,000.
83. Yeah.
83. So basically, you could support 83 kollel guys for a year with more than 1 million. Or you could support 83 guys for 3 years with $3 million. And I'm going to tell you this, that's many more zchuyot and merits that you're going to get from the food they're going to manufacture. The next day it's going to go down you know where, into the Atlantic Ocean, feeding the sharks and crabs. Think about that. But mommy didn't teach you that. Because maybe it's mommy's fault also. Because mommy wants to control you, so therefore she's going to make sure that you're always going to receive from her. Mommy holds you like this. So mommy, let go. I need to be able to give. And as long as you're feeding me, I can give others. So, sometimes it seems like we're getting big hits. Like Kadosh Baruch Hu is like whacking us. And the question is, of course, why? The answer is very simple. Not enough chesed. Not enough kindness in the world. And we have to understand that Midat HaRachamim, mercy, is being awakened by the person who is receiving, right? For example, a person sees a person suffering, he has some misery, he has some agony or something like this, right? So I feel bad for the person, I feel merciful for the person, so therefore he's the one, the person who suffers is the one, or the element that suffers is the one who is awakened the Rachamim within me. Right? So if we're going to go back to our parasha, so of course Rivka had mercy on this elder gentleman who came with dust all over. You know, he was driving on a speed Kawasaki through the desert. You know, you get all dust over there. He did Kfitzat HaDerech, it was still dust. So of course she's going to give him water because he awakened Midat HaRachamim in her. She felt bad for him. But the issue of the chesed is that a person who is a true person of chesed, a true person of kindness, is not going to wait around for it to happen. He's always looking for it. So Rachamim is reactive, chesed is active. And reactive is that when you see the person suffering, so as a reaction to that, you have mercy. A person that is a true chesed, ish chesed, is the one who is looking for it all the time. He's always running. Asu et hanefesh asher becharan. Avraham and Sarah, they made the asu et hanefesh. They didn't make demons or what do you call them, like golems over there. They went and talked to people. They helped people. They were out there. So a person that does it like this has nothing to do with the awakening of mercy in his head. Because even when you do that, merciful things, you still are receiving. You're still in the category of a person that receives. You're never being elevated to the level of a giver and an influencer. Because you're only reactive, you're not active. That's why Eliezer tried that Rivka with the camels and not the men. Because not everybody has this awakening of Rachamim for animals. And by doing so, you can measure how much true chesed is within her. And of course, the Gamal is Mishum Gemilut Chasadim, but we see that Midat HaChesed, kindness, is really high and elevated of all. Is higher even than Midat HaRachamim. And there's a tremendous chidush that we learn from Eliezer. When we say Olam Chesed Yibaneh, we're also referring to the person. Do we teach our children to do chesed? Do we teach our children to be less selfish? Do we teach our children to give from themselves to others? because it's the right thing to do. Not because I'm going to get a reward for that, nor a red carpet in the world to come. Because that's the right thing to do. The reason why we get hit is because we need this awakening. We need to do something about the situation. Not sit down and cry and hopefully somebody will help us. According to the Kabbalah, well, it tells us that Avraham Avinu did not cry much when Sarah left the world. She didn't cry much. Avraham was really a big tzaddik, and he knew that the loss of Sarah, which was his true love, his cosmic mate, is not really the loss of a husband that lost his wife. It's also the loss of a whole entire nation. And even more so, maybe it's even a loss to the whole entire world that such a figure of true kindness has gone from among us. The whole world. So Avraham Avinu, he's sad, but he's more sad for the world than he's sad for himself. So therefore he did not cry. According to the Kabbalah, of course, death is not something that is final, but rather than open a door, closing a door and opening a door, a passage to a different dimension. Sarah did her spiritual world work every single day, as they say, 24/7. All day, every day. She was involved in doing those acts of chesed. She always had to, her and Avraham, connect other people to the light of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to the kindness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, to help them come out from the darkness, to find happiness, to find love and compassion. The light which Sarai Menu created in her lifetime really influenced all the Jewish nation to the point that the Jews are probably the biggest givers of or acts of kindness in the world. They always give. They don't care who is it for. They'll help. It doesn't make a difference if it's something happens in Israel or some kid in Eritrea is hungry. There's help. The Jews are there. It's in our blood. It's the light in which Sarai Menu had created. It teaches us that when we live our life, at every single moment, we have to have the realization that what we do influences and affects others even above and beyond our lifetime. That's why you have to be responsible for your actions. You have to think about your actions. Now, if you're, of course, sleeping while I'm talking, your kids are going to go become imbeciles. How you doing, Borough Park? Do you understand? Hey, how you doing, Yoav? No, you're not Borough Park. No, you're Forest Hills. Borough Park is somebody else. All right, no problem, Yoav. People will think I'm talking to demons. No, I'm talking to somebody on the phone. No. So when Sarah, as long as Sarah was in the world, Sarah was alive, or let's say the time that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was alive, or Rabbi Akiva was alive, all these people were alive, right? The whole entire nation connected to the light of creation that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had created and kept it for the tzaddikim. They connected to this light. So when the tzaddik goes, now you understand maybe why we light candles for a person who was deceived, who just died. Because when a person dies, there's a certain darkness that comes to the world. And we light the candle to him. Well, how do we call this candle?
Ner Neshama.
Ner Neshama, not your check candle. Ner Neshama. Because some light has been taken away from us. And so those tzaddikim created, they were the adapters to connect us in the world of darkness to the light that was created before the physical light, to the spiritual light. And then, of course, bring us to a different topic in this parasha, or a different person in this parasha, and that is Yitzchak Avinu, and he shows us something amazing. So Sarai Menu showed us how to do so through connecting of chesed and through dying, through the process of dying. Comes Yitzchak and shows us something fantastic. He says there's another way of what we call tikkun haratzon, fixing your will. And we already said in order to reach this stage of perfection, of Kabbalah, receiving, in order to be mashpia, you need to go through the process of burial. So with that we already spoke about. And Yitzchak did this without any burial. Rashi says, Vayavo Avraham lispod lesara ulivkota, right? Nismecha mitat Sarah la'akedat Yitzchak. He came to bury Sarah, and then there was the Akedah, right before that there was the Akedah, right? Why? Lefi she'al yedei besorat ha'akedah, because by telling Sarah that Yitzchak, what happened on the mountain there, and I'm trying to use that's a mighty pizza. That's like pizza on steroids. What is this? French fries? And the carbs are celebrating. I enjoy it. Have me in mind, because I get stomachache just to look at it. Anyway, so that's what Rashi basically is saying. He's saying that by hearing that he was put on the mountain, shenizdamen b'na leshchita, that he was, pay attention, that he was almost slaughtered. Nizdamen b'na leshchita. And it says, "V'kimat shelo nishchat," and almost he did. Parcha nishmata, she lost her soul, and she died. The soul left her, and she died. So that Rashi is a little bit weird because it says leshchita, to slaughter, v'kimat shelo nishchat, and he almost was not slaughtered. Maybe he should say leshchita v'lo nishchat. Why he says leshchita for slaughtering, and almost he was not slaughtered? I'm sure you will see it when you read Rashi. So what does it mean? The problem is really kimat shelo nishchat. Kimat, almost, shelo nishchat. Almost he wasn't. What does it mean? That's the biggest question that we have here. So the Mekubalim explained to us, Chazal explained to us, that it means that he died and he wasn't dead. He was mevatel all his retzonot. He was able to diminish all his urges and needs himself, basically. And he did so just for one thing, so he will be successful. He helped himself tied to the Mizbeach. He wanted shchita kshera. He understood that only coming through the state of completely, what we call bitul atzmi, completely canceling of himself, only then, he's lo kayam ba'olam. He's not existent, because our existence in the world depends on our willingness to receive all the time. But Yitzchak, with this action of what we call mesirut nefesh, handing over your soul, mesirut limsor nefesh, he handed his soul. He was dead and alive in the same action. Yitzchak was the opposite of receiving, right? He wanted to give nachat, or how should I say nachat in English?
Joy.
No joy. Okay, call it nachas. All right. He wanted Kadosh Baruch Hu to be proud of him. He wanted Kadosh Baruch Hu to be proud of him. He wanted to be one with that. So how? He canceled all his needs. In other words, it's something that we have been asked to do all the time. To take our will and to make it HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will be our will. Yitzchak was even above that. He had no will whatsoever. He says, I don't exist. Only what God wants. So there are many explanation why Sarah died exactly here and so on and so forth. But based on what we said before, and we learned that Sarah Imenu, with her greatness, saw what Yitzchak did, And she realized that you could be mevatel, you could dismiss reality within reality. You could dismiss our reality within reality. From her willingness to be dedicated, to be attached to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, she canceled her reality, almost to what Moshe Rabbeinu had practiced on his death or his departure from the world. He detached his soul by the power of the intellect from his body. How? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was nothing. He said, I am nothing. I'm not even ashes. I am nothing. That's why he was able to die the way he's died. So therefore, she didn't do anything to commit suicide. She just attached herself, just like Moshe, attached himself to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And this kind of dvekut would not allow you to be into this world. And again, I told you the story this many, many times. It says about Rav Menachem Mezultishtain and the Seudah Shlishit of Shabbat. I told you, when Shabbat is at its peak, during Mincha time, Shabbat is at its peak. And he used to reach such high levels of dedication, of attachment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he needed somebody to be there with him, to guard him, because if he's going to reach such high places, he's not going to be able to come back. So one time, the person who was guarding him heard some noise outside, some commotion. He went outside to check what happened. When he came back, he already found him saying Shema Yisrael in such a dedication, and then he died.
Yeah.
Those things can happen. So therefore Sarah learned this trick, this secret from Yitzchak. Nishchat velo nishchat. Slaughtered but not slaughtered. And there is such thing. She did this dedication, this dvekut, and she gave her soul back. Yitzchak, we say also, parcha nishmato, from this dedication as well. His neshama came out. But mishamayim, they brought it back to his body. And according to the Midrash, 3 years Yitzchak Avinu was in Shamayim. 3 years. That's why it says that Avraham Avinu went back to his guys by himself. Yitzchak stayed up on the mountain for 3 years. So Sarah gave livelihood, gave meaning to all her 127 years. And the key word here is meaning. Meaning is being found by your willingness to give. Meaningless life is life that is evolved only on the process of receiving. So how did she give livelihood, Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah? By giving meaning to every single day of her life. That light that she brought in gave control, also an ability to generations further down, to even our generation, to connect, to bring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It tells us that Esther HaMalka, Esther, Queen Esther, was a reincarnation, even though I don't hold by incarnation, but I want to bring you this point, of Sarah Imenu. That also by her we saw tremendous mesirut nefesh for Klal Yisrael, giving of herself to save the Jewish nation. And of course, with her it was really an extraordinary act, what Esther did. And for the 127 years that Sarai Imenu revealed that light and brought this light to this world, Esther HaMalka ruled 127 Medina, 127 years. So we can only hope and pray to be able to connect to this amazing power, to this amazing acts of Sarai Imenu and Esther HaMalka and Yitzchak Avinu through this powerful parasha. It's an extremely powerful parasha that teaches us a lot. And maybe next time when we have a little quote-unquote obstacle in our lives, we're going to deal with it by accepting it with love. And with love, as we said always, love is one. We'll take this obstacle, this difficulty, and we'll turn it into an object that will help us to become one with God, not away from God. We're going to be able to turn the darkness into light. Not like people do when they have a difficulty, right? They have money, so they give tzedakah. Okay, they give money for whatever, they want to buy a ticket to Olam Haba. Okay, terrific. Chazak u'baruch. But all of a sudden, now it's time for them to graduate to the next level. So we do a final test for you to graduate. So we give you a test. We put you in a narrow place. All of a sudden you don't have parnasa. So what are you going to do? You're going to say, Gam kilech begel sal mavet, lo yara. I don't care, I'm with Hashem. It's all good. Or you're going to say, why did you do this to me? I gave tzedakah. I was this. I was giving. I came to learn. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, what did you learn? For who did you learn? For yourself or for the people? Who did you give? For yourself or you give to the people? Was the act of rachamim or was the act of chesed? Are you willing to attach to me also when it's not convenient with you? And therefore the test becomes a real obstacle, which is not really the reality. So we should understand that. We should face difficulties with our lives and look forward to any opportunity that will come to attach ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because when it's good for you, and you have money, and everything is good, well, you're getting fat, you're getting spiritual cholesterol, and you kick the bucket. However, when it's difficult for you, that's when you should cry, Karati Hashem. I called upon you, Hashem. B'kol kochi, with all my koach. I'm not going to say you left me because I know that you're always there near me. And then before you know, all of a sudden, you're in light, you're not in darkness. Darkness comes from our lack of connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So let's use this parasha. Let's learn this parasha in a different manner. And we'll use it to overcome obstacles, to bring light to this world. And only by doing so we'll be able to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to the eternal and internal lesson that we can learn from this parasha of Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. The life of Sarah is our life. And our life should be an act of chesed. Shabbat shalom.